everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we're really excited today. Today, we are talking about I guess you could say, vintage Hallmark movie back from way back 2014. We are talking about Recipe for Love, which is all about writing a cookbook. And so I thought it would be fun to have my friend Samantha Ferraro on, who is herself just getting her second cookbook published this month. I'm not sure when I'm going to post this exactly, but it'll be right around that time. And we're so excited. Thank you so much for coming back, Samantha.
Yay. Thank you so much for having me. I feel like I'm part of the Hallmarkies family because I've been on your podcast a few times and you and I go way back.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's
we're
true.
like
You were
OG
one of
Twitter
the
friends.
Yeah, you were one of the first online friends I made.
Oh, same
Yeah.
here. Yeah. I love
it
that
was
our
like
friendship
way
has
back
lasted so
2008.
long. Oh, what, really? That long?
It was because that's when I first signed up for Twitter. Was
Okay. Maybe
8
like
or
a year or
9.
so, but definitely it was like OG days of like social media. I think even before Instagram. Yeah, it was way back when.
It was early. Yeah. And I even did, I think it was 2012 that I did that. I did a Thanksgiving for one.
I share that every year. So if the audience doesn't know, I have a food blog as well. And years ago, Rachel did this extravagant Thanksgiving meal. I mean, course upon course. And I think your father photographed it. And it was just such a beautiful dinner. It was a Thanksgiving for two. If you ever want to, plan your Thanksgiving for two, it's on my website. And I share it every year and people absolutely love it. It's so beautifully done. The recipes are fantastic. And if you're a couple and you just want like a really good Thanksgiving dinner, like that's the perfect post to go to and make everything.
Oh, thanks. It was an incredible amount of work. I was like, okay, wow.
Now you get it, huh?
Yeah, I only respect for what you all do.
It's a lot. It is. It's fun.
Of work. But it was fun. It was fun to try something different. Yeah. Well, for people because you were on for our last holiday pod that we did.
I love that movie.
Yeah, it was really fun.
I do love it.
Yeah, and then I know there's been other times we've had you on for some foodie Christmas movies and stuff, but
yes, I don't quote me on the titles. I won't be able to give that to you, but I'm sure recap that.
Well, for people that have missed those times, and I'll try to link them, I'll try to remember all of them and link in the description. But for people that have missed, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure. So my name is Samantha Ferraro. I am a food blogger and a cookbook author. And my food blog is called littleferrarokitchen.com. And I share recipes from all over the world. I grew up in a Mediterranean and Jewish household, so I share a lot of those recipes. But I've also lived in Hawaii and Southern California and now the Pacific Northwest. And I've always been so fascinated with all these different cuisines. And it constantly influences me in the kitchen. So I like to share that on my website. And my second cookbook is called One Pot Mediterranean. My first cookbook is called The Weeknight Mediterranean Kitchen. So Mediterranean food is always my soul. So I naturally gravitate towards that. And if you would like to visit my website or my books, I'm sure we'll give you all the information. But if you love cooking, please head to my website. I would love to meet you and say hi and talk food.
You should all definitely check it out. I'm really excited to dive into it, especially what a great idea to do one pot, because that's a big factor to me in making a recipe is if I know I'm not going to have tons of dishes.
True, right. And I don't want to go too deep in the book, but I really wanted to bring flavors. So because I cook Mediterranean, I use a lot of fresh herbs and spices. And I wanted to make sure that all these flavors were kind of illustrated in the recipe, even though it's in one pot. Like you had all these different textures and lots of fresh herbs, and it just wasn't like this big soupy mess, which is fine. I love a soup, but I really wanted to provide different textures and flavors and just layers of experiences in every bite.
Well, as we talk about this movie, I'm going to ask you some about the process because I think it's very interesting.
I can't wait.
Yes. So Recipe for Love, if y'all are fans of the podcast, I mentioned this movie many times, and I usually say this is the it has the ghost pottery scene of Hallmark movies when they're
Oh,
kneading that dough.
oh,
I mean,
okay. You said that. I was like, this is like circa Patrick Swayze, mid-90s Ghost. I was like, whoa. I was like, this is
I mean,
wow.
this movie is very sexy for a Hallmark movie.
Oh,
Yeah, a lot of kissing, a lot of and I'm for it. I'm a fan.
I thought it was adorable. But
Yeah.
yes, that dose, and I was like, ooh, I was like, where?
Yeah, this is a different Hallmark in 2014.
I loved it.
But the summary is an earnest culinary school hopeful clashes with a big shot celebrity chef when she is assigned to ghostwrite his cookbook. As they struggle to get through each recipe together, their mismatched cooking styles and misunderstood paths threaten to send the cookbook up in flames. But after they both dig deeper into the heart of their shared passion, a romance becomes more likely to spark.
They were very cute.
So overall, what did you think of the movie?
I really enjoyed it. I found it relatable. I thought it was lovely. But you and I kind of chatted briefly, and I was like, oh, that's not how they do that. So there was like a few things I kind of was like, oh. But
Yeah.
I found it really relatable, and we can chat about that.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was adorable. I watched it again, actually, like kind of briefly this morning.
Yeah.
And to me, I just enjoyed it even more because I kind of picked up on different things, and I just found their chemistry that, worked really well.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite non-Christmas Hallmark movies. I really enjoyed the banter. It's directed by Ron Oliver, and he has done a ton of these Hallmark movies, and usually you can count on his being pretty good. Like he writes a lot of them. This one he didn't write, but he usually elevates whatever that he's been given. So I think that's part of it. And I agree. I think the chemistry, I think Daniel Panabaker, I wish that she wasn't so busy with Flash so that she could do more of these, because I think she's very strong in the lead.
Yeah, I thought she was adorable. I'm not familiar with her as an actress, but she was fantastic. I absolutely, I fell in love with her.
Yeah, she did another one called Christmas Joy that it's all about this cookie crawl. And I swear she makes like thousands of cookies by the end of it.
I am going to watch that.
Yes, it's our friend Elisa Lucas. It's her favorite Hallmark movie.
That's so cute. I have done that. I have gone through cookie marathons during the holidays.
Yeah. Well,
So
I did a cookie swap with you once. Do you remember that?
Oh my gosh, that was years ago. What did I send you? Was it Rugla?
You sent peanut butter cookies with Hershey's Kisses on top.
Okay. Let's do that again this year. Okay. I'll send you something else. Okay.
Yeah, that was fun. So it starts out with the maksui and the brown sauce at school lunch. And this is her inspiration to say she's the what's they call it, the kids school lunch confidential, the undercover reporter for her school paper.
I loved that opening scene. And then the lunch lady, I'm like, we all have a lunch lady like that. That's just like, here you go. What do you want? And take it or leave it. I don't know what's in here. Enjoy it.
Yeah. It was really funny. Do you have bad memories of school lunch food?
Oh, absolutely. Oh my gosh. When you're a kid, you eat what you eat,
Yeah.
So, absolutely. I like pizza with like ketchup and like, I don't even know what kind of cheese. And I didn't know food then. I was, 10 years old. I didn't know food. And like sloppy joes, I just got everywhere. And like cold tater tots. Actually, the tater tots were pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I remember that you could just get fries if you wanted.
Oh, I don't know. I went to elementary school in New York City, so you get what you got.
I mean, this was long before Michelle Obama tried to switch everything up, make it healthier. But yeah, you could just have French fries. I feel like that's what we went to a lot of times. We're like, we're not eating that, whatever that is.
I have no qualms with that. I will do that as an adult.
Yeah, it was definitely very suspect. I feel like they usually had either a hamburger, with like very, very weird hamburger meat, but they usually had like a hamburger, a chicken sandwich, fried chicken sandwich, or pizza. There was at least one of those three that were like serviceable.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember Sloppy Joe for some reason. Like I just
Yeah.
remember that's what my memory is all about, is like the Sloppy Joe on this like soft bun. And
Yeah.
it's just like a mess.
I think the main motivation for most of my peers to getting their driver's license was that they could then go off campus for lunch.
Oh, yeah, in high school, yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't much in my town because it was a small town, but there was a Subway. So the
Yeah.
big motivation was to be able to go get something for
Yeah,
lunch.
fair.
Yeah. So, but I think it was only $1, I think, for
Oh,
lunch.
wow. You have a good memory. I do not remember. How much. I
It
don't
was
think I was
really
there half
cheap.
the time.
I remember it was really cheap, but partly because I do have a pretty good memory, but now once they like shaped it all up, my nieces, theirs was like really expensive, their school lunch.
Really?
Yeah, it was like
Wow.
$5 or something.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was a
That's
lot.
pricey.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it was the Bay Area at the time.
Yeah.
So
Which is where
probably
this
why.
movie takes place.
Oh, that's right. So then we jump up in, but I I I felt like there was some I wanted to snap back at the principal when he's like, girls with smart mouths don't get far in life.
Oh, I know.
Like that could be a
It's
bumper sticker.
so rude. I thought that was absolutely so rude. And don't take that. And
Yeah.
she's so good.
Yeah, that's right. But so we jump ahead and we meet Dexter Grant, celebrity chef. What do you think of this celebrity chef that how he's
So
portrayed?
I thought
This
he was
character.
cute. Is that okay to say on here? He's a good looking guy.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah.
okay,
Sean
so
Roberts.
it reminded me, well, when I first saw him, I was like, wow, he's like very charismatic, but very showy. I was like, okay,
Mhm.
I feel like he's kind of like forcing this. He's forcing this kind of appearance. But it also made me think of, because I met a chef, his name was Hubert Keller, I think years ago.
Uh-huh.
And it was like in Vegas at one of his restaurants. And he was telling me, he's like a chef and he's on like Food Network sometimes. And he was telling me, he's like, you can't just be a chef these days. He's like, you have to have the whole package.
Oh yeah.
And when I saw the character Dexter, it kind of reminded me of that, because he can't just be a chef. He has to have a show. He has to have a cookbook that they're forcing on, to him to write. And he has to have a restaurant and everything has to be perfect. And he has to, be good looking and everything. So it kind of reminded me of that you kind of have to have this whole package, because
Yeah.
it's all about appearance, when you're in the public eye.
Yeah.
So
Well, he
that's
does
what it
seem
kind of
kind
reminded
of
me
like
of.
a poser to start out, but that's like somewhat appropriate because it turns out he kind of is a poser and this is not really who he is. And he hates
Right.
this character of Dexter Durant.
Yeah, right. I think he thinks this is what people want. And I think that's one of the, I guess, the things that, what's her name? Is it Lauren? That's trying to kind of like
Yeah.
mold him, like, like relax a little bit, like be yourself. It's okay. But he's so used to these TV cameras on him and producers telling him how to act. And I relate to that in a way, because you have to like have this like appearance
Yeah.
when you go in front of people.
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
It seems like it would be very difficult to write a book like a cookbook especially if it's supposed to be this personal, to have this ghostwriter writing. He's evidently he's fired 3 of them. He's just going through 'em like
Yeah.
crazy. And he is pretty tough on her. He says that cilantro smells like asphalt.
I mean, I think that's a personal preference. So I love cilantro. So
Yeah, I know
that's a
some people have that
personal,
taste bud that makes it
yeah,
taste like soap.
right. And I mean, there's other herbs that you can use, besides cilantro, because it's a pretty prominent flavor.
Yeah.
But I understood that. I didn't have a ghostwriter for my book. It was me. And I was thinking about like, oh, if I did have a ghostwriter, how would that go? Because now you're collaborating with someone else and you're kind of putting your recipes almost in their hands to make sure that it comes out because your name is still on that recipe. So it's a very personal thing. I mean, writing a book is a very personal thing. You're writing these recipes, you're putting it out in the world. It's printed. It's in hundreds of bookstores that people can read and take home and cook for themselves. And you want it to be perfect. And I get it. I get where he was coming from. It's a very personal thing.
So how, when you're writing this cookbook, like how did you decide on kind of the theme that you wanted? And then when you're like processing a recipe, like what is that like?
So for me, I kept with the Mediterranean theme because my first book was Mediterranean. And the one pot idea was actually a conversation I had with my publisher because we were kind of brainstorming other ideas of cookbooks because I was ready to write a cookbook. So it was definitely a conversation. And when we were talking about one pot, I instantly got excited. I'm like, this is how I actually cook a lot of one pot recipes. I would love to do this. And also it would be a little bit of a challenge because now I'm making 70 one pot recipes. So it'd be kind of a challenge. So it kind of got me excited. So then once that was done, I just kind of went to town. I started writing down all of these ideas, all of these flavors, things that I was familiar with that I can tweak. And I just kind of started cooking and I broke it up into like proteins. So, or I broke it up, like I have like a meat and a seafood and a vegetarian chapter and a grain chapter. So I broke it down that way. And I just kind of got cooking and I used the experience that I have to know how long things cook for. Because the thing with a one pot is that not everything cooks at the same time. You have to layer the ingredients so it all comes out at the same time, if that makes sense. So like if you were to put chicken, well, chicken's going to take longer to cook maybe than, the rice. So you want to do the chicken first and then add the rice, a little bit later. And then you have to cover it with a liquid so everything cooks. And then you have it all done at the end. So that kind of thinking process was really what took a lot of time.
You get sick of certain recipes as you're cooking them. You're just like, I never want to eat salmon again.
Something like that. I kind of did go through that because I think I was recipe testing lamb. And I know you have done lamb once or twice or you're nervous about it
yeah.
Lamb can be a gamey meat if you're
Well,
not.
it's so expensive that it's like, I get nervous about it because I don't want to mess it up and then I wasted money.
Yes. So I did a few lamb recipes and it's a very prominent flavor. It's not like, simple chicken, for example.
Yeah.
And at the time, well, actually also lamb, if you walk into someone's house and someone's making lamb, you can tell because it's an oily meat. Mm-hmm. So it definitely has more of a smell than something else. And I remember I was just like, I am done. Like I need pizza. Like I need something simple. I need a salad because lamb is also very rich. And just all these like warm spices. It just smelled like a spice drawer in my kitchen for a while because I was doing all these like Mediterranean spices. And I was like, I just need pizza right now, which is okay, just walk away from it.
Well, does your husband get tired of trying out the recipes too?
Joe's a fantastic cook and eater. Like he will always try something and he will give me like honest feedback.
Yeah.
Which
that's
is
good.
It is. Yeah. And also some friends, because that's another thing, it's just my husband and I, but when you're making these recipes, you're making them usually for families that have like 4-ish, maybe 6 people. So I'm making like good sized recipes. Yeah. So I was giving them to friends and I was like, try this. Let me know what you think.
So he puts coffee in his chili. And I think that's supposed to be like, he is wild.
Actually, that's really smart.
Yeah.
That's actually really smart. And I kind of wanted to take that idea because coffee can be like an enhancer. It could be a
Yeah.
little bit bitter and a little rich. And when you add it to chili with those warm spices, it sounds like it will work because often even chili goes with or I'm sorry, when
Coffee. Yeah.
coffee goes with chocolate. And sometimes even chocolate and chili is a combination. So you kind of think of all these kind of like warm flavors,
Mhm.
and it sounds like it would work really nicely.
Yeah, I think that would, I don't drink coffee myself, but it sounds like it would be good.
Oh, I drink it all the time. So yes.
So then we have Pascal Hutton playing her sister, and she's like an exec of the
Yeah, I thought that was really
Cookbook
interesting
company.
because yeah, I didn't realize that there was that kind of relationship with her job because she's also kind of like, oh, he has to like do really well, right? So she's like an
Yeah,
executive of the show or the book
something.
or something like that. Yeah. She
Yeah.
wasn't in there that much though.
No, and she is a popular favorite amongst Hallmark fans because she's on When Calls the Heart,
Oh, okay.
which is a popular show.
She looked familiar.
Yeah, yeah. So it was kind of fun to see her in this role. And so after this like initial kind of dicey first meeting, because she wants to get this cookbook published and she'll get paid and then she'll be able to go and study at Cordon Bleu in Paris. That's her dream.
Just like Julia Child.
Yeah, just like Julia Child. Yeah. Was that ever something you were tempted or thought about doing, is going to culinary school?
I've had the thought, but going to cooking school is very specific.
Yeah.
Like you are going to go to cooking school and you're going to learn these exact techniques. And I think if you were to go wanting to know technique and how to chop an onion perfectly and how to chop a carrot perfectly, yes, I think great. But for me, that's not for me. I'm a very fluid cook.
Yeah, so you would be a fan of his bread making techniques. Although, I mean, she says, she's like, you need to have specifics for baking, which is accurate.
You literally do. Literally baking is a science. You cannot just add whatever flour you want and hope for the best. And like, oh, a little bit of yeast. No, it's literally a science. That is why like baking recipes are very specific.
Yeah.
I'm not much of a baker, but you will often see other cooks, they're either focusing on food or they're focusing on baking. It's very rare that you see both because I always found that cooking is very kind of artistic where you're able to throw different things in and kind of see how it goes. But baking, you need to know what you're putting in that.
I mean, unless you're like one of those people that like have been making rolls your entire life and it's just like kind of part of who you are, then maybe you can just kind of, the dough so well, but for somebody like her,
and that's a baker, they know those exact measurements that are going in there.
Yeah.
Because it's truly, it's a science. It's literally a science. When you have a leavening agent and, different, whatever, you need to know how much to put in there for the result you want.
Yeah. So he apologizes for being a jerk. Yeah. And she says, that she wants to write her own book someday. And they're like, when are you going to do it? And then she says, and he says, talking about the cookbook makes me not want to write a cookbook.
I actually relate to that.
Yeah, I bet.
Because it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
And then she goes to his club. I think it was called Vertigo.
Is that a restaurant or a club? I thought it was a restaurant.
Well, it's the first time she has a cocktail. So yeah, it's like a bar restaurant, like a lounge kind of or some kind of place. Anyway, she has the little baggie ready to like take the.
I thought that was such a cute idea.
Yeah, it was.
I was like, we should do. She took her carrots out. She had like a little snack bag, like a little Ziploc bag.
Yeah.
She was trying to figure out the flavor of this cocktail, and I thought it was really smart that she took that to figure it out at home. Yeah. And when she went home, she was testing it. And she kept pouring it down the drain because it wasn't what she expected. And I relate to that as well. I
Although
mean,
that's a lot of alcohol to be
not a
thrown
pouring down the
the
drain, but there are times that it doesn't work out and you have to retest it.
Yeah.
But it's rare that I would throw something away. There was one time I literally threw a recipe away because it was so bad.
I mean, I guess the alternative is getting totally sloshed, which I guess wouldn't be good either.
No,
If you were
oh
drinking
no.
all those drinks.
That cocktail actually looked pretty good. It looked really refreshing.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably had blue curacao.
That's exactly what it had. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a friend, my friend Abby. I don't know how it got started. It's one of those long running jokes. One time she posted about blue food, and it became this ongoing joke of anytime I see blue food, I share it with her. And I'm like,
Oh, cute.
her love. And then the other day, I there was a video on YouTube about why we don't see very much blue food. It's like, you got to watch this.
That's funny. I mean,
Anyway,
yeah.
it's funny.
Blue's usually an artificial color, so
Yeah.
probably why.
So then we find out he's like a huge garden guy. And
Oh
I
my gosh, I fell in love with his garden.
Yeah, it was great. But it did make me laugh that the first time that we see him in the garden, he's got his shirt off. Like, thank you, director.
If I looked like that, I probably would too.
Yeah. Thank you, Sean.
I probably would too. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a hot day in the Bay Area. He needs to, stay cool.
Yeah. And then later on, when he's like angry gardening, you're like, don't take your anger out on the garden.
Yeah. Your plants can feel it. I've heard that. I absolutely have.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the new novel, The Fairest of Heart by Karen Whittemire. Hallmarkies listeners, don't miss this 30% off deal from author Karen Whittemire. Rediscover the classic fairy tale of Snow White with a Western twist in her new novel, Fairest of Heart. In this enchanting tale, beauty has been nothing but a curse to Penelope Snow, and when her beauty is discovered, her mistress arranges her disappearance. Texas Ranger Titus Kingsley is assigned a robbery case tied to Penelope, and all evidence points to her, but he might be convinced that the fairest woman of all has a heart as pure as her last name, if only he can prove it. Purchase Fairest of Heart for 30% off and free shipping at bakerbookhouse.com. That's bakerbookhouse.com. Have him on air, and the food processor is making something food processor.
Oh my gosh. So that scene was fantastic because, well, I saw the lid go on. So they were trying to make some kind of salsa or something, and they were putting it in a food processor. And I don't know if he was flustered a little bit, but he was trying to put the lid on, and the lid wasn't on. And I saw that. I was like, ooh, okay, something's gonna happen. And of course it just went everywhere. And the hosts were like very nervous about it, which I was like, oh, okay. But it reminded me, because but I like how they kind of played it off after, because Lauren was like, no, make it something else, and it worked out. But I do a cooking segment on a morning news show here, well, in Seattle, like every few months. And the last one I did, I messed up, and I just went with it. And I cracked an egg and it got stuck in the pan, and I forgot a spatula. So I was using a knife to try and get this egg out. And it was just on live TV also. And I was like, oh my God. And I just went with it. So I get it.
Well, she won him over when she saves the situation. He says, when the going gets tough, the tough make bruschetta.
I thought that was beautiful.
Yeah.
I actually thought that was really cute.
He wanted to kiss her right then, I think.
The only thing that they said it was live TV. And I was like, okay, if it's live TV, then why did they cut and then come back? Because usually live TV, they just keep going and go with it.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting.
Yeah. I've never done a cooking segment, but I have done the Friday Flicks at Good Things Utah a couple times. And those hosts for Good Things Utah are amazing. They can make anything work.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that's a good host. Yeah, that's a good host. Yeah.
There was one of the times I went on, I don't know what was happening, because there was they were profiling this Claire place, but they only were able to get the person who did their food photography.
Okay.
She knew almost nothing about this restaurant.
Oh no.
It was so weird. They're like, where's it located? And she just kind of froze. And then I don't know if they did it in their ear or something. So that they made it all work. But I was just like, why would you have this person who knows nothing about your business? Like, it was so weird. But I'm like, the eclairs look good.
Oh, I love an eclair.
Yeah. So she really did win him over. He was very excited about that. And then he like leaves all these Post-it notes all over the restaurant for his potato dish. What do you think of that?
Well, I was like, I guess I was kind of thinking, I was comparing it to myself because I'm assuming he was recipe testing, or I don't know if he was putting.
Yeah, it was like this potato. It was like a twice baked potato kind of a dish. Yeah.
Yeah, and it looked like he had, I'm assuming it was like some kind of hollandaise sauce that she tasted on the stove. And I was, again, comparing myself because whenever I do recipe tests, even for the website, I have a Post-it with my ideas. I have numerous notebooks, numerous legal pads, like all over with just like various anything like notes and like recipe ideas and like tweaks and all these things. So I was like, oh, okay. But his kitchen was a mess. And I was like, okay, let's hone it in. let's organize this. But I also get it because when I'm in the middle of recipe testing, like you should see my kitchen. It's special. It's a little messy.
Yeah, I mean, same with me. I mean, he has the whole no shoe policy, which I also usually take off my shoes when I come into my house, but I have like a special mat for my feet. So they because I wouldn't want to like do a lot of cooking and standing just on my bare feet.
No, you're right. I do that too. We have a no shoes policy in our house too, but I have my chef shoes that are like good for people who stand for hours and hours, and those are only worn indoors. So yeah, I get it.
So he makes her this apology dinner after she saves him on the show and saves his potato dish, and he says that he hates Dexter Durant's Celebrity Chef. And she says, is that why you come to this place, to protect yourself?
Oh,
it's cute.
It's hard. He's putting a lot of energy into being, this, like I said, like the celebrity, because you have to like do this show for the public, but nowadays it's not getting like that. I feel like nowadays it's very more like down to earth, realistic.
Well, and I feel like this would be particularly difficult when the line between your regular life and the role you're playing gets meshed together, because most actors can like obviously say like, I'm not Luke Skywalker, obviously. Like if you're playing a role, whereas like a celebrity chef, people think, oh, that's who you really are. You know?
Right. Yeah, because cooking is very personal again. And you see them cooking, you're like, oh, this is how you really are in the kitchen.
Yeah. And so that would be tricky. And then he says that his dad was really tough on him, said that he was never going to make anything out of himself. And then they dance in the rain, which was a really fun scene. I mean, they cut it off. I wish they'd like left it in there a little longer, but he's like out there like,
he's like to be free.
Yeah, it was fun. That was a fun thing. And then the next scene is at the shoot, and Kenny Kwan, who is in all of Ron Oliver's, almost all of Nelson Wong is the name, but he plays this guy named Kenny Kwong on almost all of Ron Oliver's movies. It's kind of funny. So it's this sort of Easter egg for Hallmark fans that Nelson Wong's in this. Who's Kenny gonna be?
Oh, cute. Okay.
Yeah. And he plays the director of the cooking show, and he is just insisting that they have to make salmon.
Oh, yes.
And that makes sense because obviously they have all of the product, they have all the recipes tested, they have everything ready to go. So you can't just change it like that for a show.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then this is after that. This is when we get the blindfold bread making scene, which is amazing. It's so good.
It was, I was like, ooh. And then he's like, turned to me. I was like, ooh.
Yes. and use your natural instincts for making bread.
Yeah.
And she's
And
like,
then, okay, so that bread came out beautifully, like perfectly smooth. I'm like, that bread was kneaded with a machine, and it probably rose a little bit.
well, yeah, and
I'm
probably
just
a
saying.
couple times. You
So,
probably had to let it rise a couple times and stuff
yeah,
like
I was
that.
like, but okay, sure. We'll go with it.
It works. I mean, I love the line. She's like, it's gonna get all messy. It's time for you to get messy.
I know. And I was surprised she's like, it's just dough. I thought she likes getting her hands messy. So I was like, okay.
I think she likes to be in control.
Oh,
I think that's
interesting.
in
Interesting.
control
Okay.
of the mess.
Interesting.
So we get that. Yeah. Like I love that whole thing when it's like, oh, I've got to lean over you and knead the dough with you.
Yeah, in the bowl. I was like,
Yeah.
okay. Wow. Yeah, definitely reminded me of like mid-90s Ghost, like
Yeah.
Patrick Swayze.
I wish we got more of it in Hallmark movies.
Yeah. Oh, hi.
Yeah. And then he kind of pulls her around and takes off the blindfold. And he kisses her and she says, we shouldn't. And he says, we should.
Listen, girl, let's go with it.
Yeah, I loved it. It was great.
Fine.
Okay, then there's this like weird guy that's there all the time, like, and he says, oh, he's trying to poach your show.
Oh, the other chef.
Yeah, the
with
other chef. He
back
was so
hair.
weird.
Yeah, he was. I thought it was funny. So I guess he was supposed to be this Italian chef
Yeah.
who was trying to kind of like steal the fame.
Well,
And
then we
is that
find out
right?
later he's competing against him in this Iron Chef kind of show.
Yeah, it kind of looked like a Chopped show almost.
Yeah.
And supposedly he's like Italian, but he's like really not. He's not from Sicily. He's from like Cincinnati. It's like, ooh, burn.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, what is he
I thought
doing?
that line was really
Like,
funny.
he was a weird character.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, Hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies.
He storms the office, says, we're not going to, there's not going to be any cookbook. And she goes and talks to his stepmom and finds
Oh,
the
that's right.
scrapbook
Yeah.
that his father made of him.
Yeah. I thought that was really sweet.
It was very sweet.
Yeah.
And then, but he's just being like a brat. And like I said, he's angry gardens in the garden.
He's holding a lot in. He
Yeah.
has a lot of pressure on him, and he's holding. I mean, I kind of get it.
Yeah. But the great scene when she shows him the scrapbook and she's like, we can do it together. Together we can succeed. And then they kiss again. And there are like a dozen kisses in this movie.
Yeah, you think it's more than usual Hallmark movies.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, a lot of times in Hallmark movies, you only get it at the very, very, very end, like the last 30 seconds.
Okay.
If you're lucky, these days you can get a mid-movie kiss, but a lot of times it's a near kiss. So they like get close to kissing and then don't kiss.
Wow.
Yeah. So to have like a lot in this movie is very exciting.
Do you think their relationship started earlier in the movie than other Hallmark movies?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was just like 2014. Like, it's interesting because it's like it started being like having a tiny bit more edge in probably like 2012, 2015. And then it got like super conservative. So there was almost nothing.
Oh, wow.
And then now we're in like another kind of, because we got there's a new CEO, a new things. So the last like 2 years, we started to see a little bit more.
Okay.
It's all still G-rated,
Yes.
but it's just nice. I mean, these are grown-ups,
Yeah.
so just have like a tiny bit of intimacy in their movies.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We're all adults.
Yeah. uh, and so we really see this relationship grow,
Mhm.
and it's not just because when it ends in the last 30 seconds, that's really like the beginning of their relationship. They've
Mhm.
basically decided to date. And in this case, like you really see them get to a pretty strong place by the end of it.
Mhm. Yeah, I
I like.
really respected that they respected each other and each
Yeah.
other's goals. I really thought that was really well done
Mhm.
because, she's like, I really want to go to Cordon Bleu. And he's like, you know what? Like, you do you, like, go for it. Like, I
Yeah.
support you. And I just thought that was really sweet.
Yeah. She wasn't expected to give up her dreams
Right.
for a guy.
Right.
Yeah. But then also like she didn't just throw out love because she
Right.
for a job. I hate that too when it's like, should I take this job or fall in love?
Yeah.
You should fall in love.
Yeah.
A job is a job.
Yeah. That's true.
But anyway, so yeah, he's being kind of a brat, but she talks to him, shows him the scrapbook, and then they go to the kitchen knockout, and she's the sous chef for him, which is super cute.
Yeah. I really enjoyed that whole scene because I've always wanted to be a judge on that kind of
Yeah, me
show. So I'm like, oh, that looks kind of fun.
Yeah. Although
But
I'd
I
way
thought it was
rather be a judge on either Top Chef or Iron Chef than Chopped, because some of the
Oh,
stuff they're
okay.
eating on Chopped is weird.
Yeah, chopped. I don't know. Some of those ingredients seem very suspicious.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, I don't know about that. But
Yeah.
even their ingredients, I was like listening because I think some of the ingredients, if I remember, it was rose water, and I was like, or rose something. I was like, oh, I always cook with that. Okay, what else is in there? But then like some crazy like savory things. And I was like, ooh, okay, that would be interesting.
I don't like any of that kind of stuff. It's
Oh, you
too
don't?
soapy tasting to me. I don't like lavender in food. I don't
Oh, I
like
love it.
orange
A little goes
water.
a
I don't like
long way. A little goes a really long way.
it's like when you were making the lassies the other day.
Oh, I know. Well, you're not into it.
Well, I just said you had me until the orange water.
Oh yeah, or rose. Yeah, just omit it. It's fine.
Yeah, I just don't like that kind of soapy,
Yeah,
perfumey
I
kind of
understand.
taste.
I understand. Yeah,
It's
you
a
can
tough
turn that
sell.
way.
Let's put it
Yeah,
that way.
fine. I won't ever send you anything floral.
People are always trying to
or
put
fruit.
lavender and stuff, and I'm like, no, take it
Really, I
out.
love it. Lavender cookies, lavender shortbread cookies are so lovely.
Yeah, it's like eating soap. I
No.
don't like it.
Oh,
But yeah, so they are kind of on a Chop type show. That they're like, you sure know your way around the kitchen.
yeah.
They make yeast bread in 60 minutes, which would be pretty tough.
That would be tough because usually you need 60 minutes just to let the dough rise.
Yeah.
The first
But-
rise.
But this is why I think the Great British Bake Off is better than most of the American shows, because they give them more time.
Oh yeah. I love that
No,
show. I do. But did you
Yeah.
ever hear, I don't know if I heard it on an interview or something, but sometimes they're like towards like the end of that season, like when all like the really advanced bakers are still there, their instructions are just like, get the ingredients, mix the ingredients, bake. And then like they have to make this like trifle of something,
Right.
you know?
Well, that's for the I can't think of what they call it. They have the first competition is a free, they can make whatever they
Like
want
whatever
based
they
on
want.
topic. And then the second one is to follow a recipe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can't think of what it's called, but and yeah, some of those recipes get a little shady. I'm like, I feel bad.
Yeah.
But they do also have a practice session
Oh, do
that's
they?
not shown on that they'll talk about some in practice.
Oh, okay.
So I just think it's more entertaining than these ones like in Chop. They give them 20 minutes for the first round. You're just like, I really wish they gave them longer.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But also cooking, I mean, you can just kind of throw things and see what happens. But yeah, I wouldn't even know how to start a show like that. I would just start cooking something and be like, okay, here, make sure everything's on a plate.
Sometimes I think that is what they do. They're just like, I'm going to make a stir fry of some kind for the first round, and I'm going to do like French toast for dessert. They have it like basically planned out.
I have to say, I'm going to roast this a little bit, but where she was cooking this chicken breast for
Uh-huh.
that competition, and it was a thick chicken breast like that.
Yeah.
That was a beefy chicken. And I was like, okay, that's going to take literally at least 30 to 40 minutes to cook in the oven. So she
Yeah,
was
but it was the
standing-
other people that supposedly had the raw chicken, and
Oh,
you know,
really? Oh, okay.
the
I was
judge,
like, oh, I was a little nervous about that. So I was
the
like, that's
judge was like, I don't like chicken that's raw.
yeah, no, no one should eat raw chicken.
Yeah, the other team makes raw chicken,
Yeah.
and so they win, of course. Yeah, because yeah, it's bad. And then he storms off.
The other chef,
Yeah, Gio was his name.
he's from Cincinnati, not Sicily. I love
Yeah.
that line.
And so then they kiss, and everybody sees him, and everybody's like cheering.
Oh,
Yeah, and they are publishing the cookbook. His show has been renewed, and they have him standing in front of the sign
yeah.
for the cookbook, which is just him looking beautiful.
He does look good. I don't know. They didn't put any food in the cover,
Yeah.
which I was kind of disappointed with. It was just like him sitting on like a wall with his garden behind him and like no
Yeah.
shoes, which I did think was kind of cute, the no shoes. But I was like, well, I kind of wish there was food on that cover. Just my personal experience.
Yeah, I would agree. I would want something like maybe you have him at least have him in front of a stove or something.
Or something, yeah. Like I get that
Yeah.
they were trying to make him like this very like down to earth, like I'm just, a guy that has a garden and I just like love good produce and simple recipes. But I don't know. I think walking by you wouldn't assume
Yeah.
that book
Well,
is.
then he says, "Hold on. There's only one thing I need to
Oh.
change."
Mm.
He says, she's not just a ghostwriter. She's an angel.
Oh,
And then he writes her name.
I thought that was actually really nice.
is-
I'm really glad he did that.
I was too.
I really am glad he did that. Yeah, he added her name to the title, like and Lauren.
Yeah, it was very
nice.
sweet.
Yeah.
And then they kiss again.
Yeah.
And the world needs to know you wrote this book.
Oh,
That's very cute.
that was really sweet.
So she's going to Cordon Bleu, and we get this whole scene with them when she's leaving.
Yeah.
And that was good. And he sends her off to school, and then she's eating lunch in France in the
Mhm.
cafe, and he shows up with looks like more coffee or something like that.
Of
She's like, "Oh."
course, he just
here."
happened to find her in the middle of Paris in this random cafe. Of course.
Right. So yeah, that's the end of the movie. But I think there was seriously like I felt like a dozen kisses. It was very
Yeah.
fun.
I thought it was adorable.
Very
I really liked that
romantic.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cute.
And I just thoroughly enjoyed it. I liked their chemistry, the banter. And it's kind of fun because John Roberts is on Heartland this season. He's kind of a love interest for Amy Amber Marshall's character. He's kind of a love interest. His name is Sam.
Oh.
And so it's kind of fun to see him here after just watching him on Heartland.
I'll
But they're
check
both
that out.
they're all very talented actors. And so I would give it a very high score as far as like comparing it to other Hallmark movies. Not like comparing it to movies at large, but just
Mhm.
on the spectrum of Hallmark movies, I'd give it a really high score. Like, I give it like a 4.75 out of 5
Oh yeah.
compared to other Hallmark movies. It's really,
I
it's
really
really
enjoyed it.
solid. Yeah. So, well, very good. Thank you so much for coming on and talking with us.
Thank
Do you have a favorite recipe in your book? Your
Oh,
new
that's
book?
a loaded question. I would say if somebody was wanting to make a first recipe from the book, look at the cover recipe. It's a one pot chicken and rice with lots of herbs and olives. It's kind of Greek inspired.
Oh,
And there's just like lots of flavor. And I think everyone would like it, from adults to kids. So I would check out that Greek inspired one pot chicken and rice dish.
because I get a little nervous with rice too. I mean, I cook it in my rice cooker all the time, but
Mhm.
it's so hard to get right.
It's always like usually a 2-to-1 ratio of liquid to rice if you're ever
Mhm.
nervous. But even the same thing when you add it to things, just add enough liquid, you're good to go.
Yeah. Cool. That's great. Well, we'll have all the information if you all want to check out the book in the description. And when does it come out?
Oh, should I show my big poster, like his
Yes.
poster?
Show your big poster.
Just like Dexter has a big poster. I have a big poster.
But yours actually has this food on it.
It does. I know. I don't think I would want my face on a book cover, to be honest. I mean, if I
Well.
look like it, I might, but I don't.
When does that come out?
So far it's supposed to come out June 13th, 2023
Okay, great.
is the published date. So it will be on Amazon, local bookstores, and everywhere you can find your favorite books.
Well, we'll have affiliate link in the description. You can all check it out. And thanks so much for coming on. This was so much
Thank you
fun.
for having me. This was so much fun.
Yeah, definitely. And if people want to follow you, your blog, everything else, how can they do that?
Yes, if you want to follow me, my blog, it's littleferrarokitchen.com with hundreds and hundreds of recipes. I also share lots of cooking videos on social media. So you can find me on Instagram at Ferraro Kitchen, on TikTok at Ferraro Kitchen, and on Facebook at The Little Ferraro Kitchen.
Great. Very good. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. Also make sure that you're following the podcast, the Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And I'll put on the links. I'll put in the description the other episodes you've been on, so you can check those out. It's a lot of fun. And if you're listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That really helps us a lot. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that. And you check out our patron group and merch store. And we'll talk to you later. Bye.